Dory, this is Josh. Man, you and I appreciate you post an audio version. I've been doing these pretty much this last week to very interesting results. This was my turn. I just want to thank you for being so supportive of the podcast. I'm glad you've been involved in listening. I hope my show has been entertaining, enlightening, good, whatever. But more importantly, it seems like you are doing your thing and you have the courage to be yourself in a very, very interesting time. I admire how passionate you are. I admire how authentic you are. You seem like a very cool person, and definitely at some point we'll have to talk and know each other a little bit better, whether as an author or as an interview on my show or just even as friends. You seem really, 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 really cool. So, all that to say.
Hello, Joshua.
See, so you started with that.
Did I surprise you? Did I shock you?
Well, I've been doing these. I appreciate you post to a lot of people, and I've been doing it like I've admitted I've done them, but again, what I say to people is what I say to people, and everybody's like gets a little. Everybody gets a different message, right? I mean, some of the general stuff's the same, but when we get into like the nuts and bolts about the person, it's usually something very specific to the person, and because again, it's easy. It's kindness isn't hard. It really isn't, and it's honestly to me how little it happens.
So take a beat there and share with everyone what we're even talking about. So the video just play real quick.
I'll explain where the origin of this happened, which was back when the pandemic first started. I've said this on my show many a time.
These were voicemails, right?
Well, and that's not. It didn't start initially as voicemails. It started just as written messages. It's evolved into voicemails.
Okay.
What would happen was it was just like everybody's looking, especially in a very, very dark time, is looking for a kind word, and it doesn't have to be very much.
Right.
You just people need, like, sometimes people just need to know that they are matter and that they're appreciated, and it's such a simple thing.
Yes.
But
I've had to put that in your video. I'm like, he's not going to know I did it. I know you saw the video earlier that just had the music, but of course I went back in and I edited the audio because I wanted to surprise you.
Right, it's right. Like I said, I
saw the look on your face. I did. I saw. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, but no, it's just I've been doing these off and on for a very long period of time, and I just realized that overwhelming. I actually got blocked on Twitter for doing it, believe it or not, from somebody actually blocked me, which is hilarious. Like,
wow.
Well, I broke. Okay, in Twitter you only got the DMs, so you know what? I can kind of
knew, like personally knew.
Oh no, not well, but I enjoyed her tweets, and we had back and forth throughout. So I appreciate your post, and you know, I she probably thought I was going to do something weird, and so she blocked me. So I mean, so that's
female.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, Joshua, and I can't speak for her, but and I think you know me well enough to know where I'm coming from, but like her reaction probably had way more to do with what other men had done or how they had treated her in the past than actually you.
I'm sure. I didn't take offense to it. It was it's just shocking one day that this person I enjoyed their tweets, I couldn't see them anymore. Right.
So for those we do have a few people watching, and if you missed the intro, what Joshua and I are talking about is this out of the blue. When we first met, Joshua sent me a voicemail of well wishes and warm thoughts and made some really, really positive, impactful comments to me that I really needed to hear that day. And he's done that for quite a few people. And I wanted to start off the show with that appreciation.
Yeah, it was, I've been, again, just a simple little thing.
Yeah.
I took it's evolved to audios. The weirdest reaction I got there, I'll tell you, like the word, like again, it's weird because no one's used to, like people are not
There's
used
something
to
weird than getting blocked.
Well, it wasn't not quite, but it was close.
Okay. What was?
Okay, this guy I did know. This guy I did know for a lot better. He's like, I thought it was like some kind of like attack or something like that, and I was like, because he didn't play the message up until that point. Like, he never touched the message. He thought it was like some kind of like weird like hacking thing.
Ignored it or whatever. He's like,
it was just what he eventually contacted me. He's like, what is this? It's like, I just sent you a message. And he's like, I thought it was a hack. And I looked at him and I looked at him. I was like, I am so glad I don't think like you. I'm just so glad I don't think like you. And he listened to it after that. Though he goes, dude, that made my week. So I mean,
what's the most positive reaction you've gotten to it? I'm going to pause you when you go on and carry on and because I think it's funny. Please don't take this the wrong way, but as a writer, I think you forget about the period of a sentence sometimes.
Oh, I talk in my own minute. It's because I'm a podcaster, right?
Yes. You are never lost for words.
My superpower.
That's a compliment, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a compliment, by the way.
You have to be quick as a host. We'll get to that. So,
yes, I've got
to answer your question.
I got a show prepared for you, buddy.
Yeah. To answer your question.
Answer my question. What was the best experience? We've got like 3
I'm going to name her. I'm going to name her on the air because I think it was genuinely sweet. Nicola Jones, actually. Her name is Nicola Jones. She's an illustrator based out of. She's also a teacher, and I just sent her a randomly kind note out of the blue,
Aww.
and she goes. I think the response. I've gotten a lot of good responses. I can't really say there's been I'm talking the what I told you is the outliers. Almost all of them have been either I get no response or it's overwhelmingly positive. I have a theory that no responses just don't know how to handle it. That's my theory.
Nicola Jones art.
Yeah, if you look at her, she's quite good. And
a shout out for anyone watching. This is her Facebook. I just found it. It is at Nicolette Jones Art. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there you go. So so she just goes, I really needed to hear those words today. Thank you. Like I could almost feel the tears. Because I can almost feel the tears.
I teared up. I mean, you definitely impacted me. I remember sending you I sent you one back.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I've gotten a few of them back. A guy by the name of JD Estrada, a few other people have sent me ones back, and it's genuinely. I think my favorite one, though, if I really had to pick one, Mark Leslie Lefebvre's, because I think every time I send him one, I genuinely shock him. And Mark is a cool dude. Like Mark Leslie, he's a very sweet guy, and I call him Darth Vader because he's the king.
He's an author as well.
Oh yeah, you'll find him. I call him Darth Vader because he's the king of bad pun jokes, and I teased him openly that he's on the pun side of the force, and that it's just some of them are terrible, but and for those people wondering, I'm throwing various names out here. I interviewed so many people.
Some names to throw up because you've been doing your podcast for 6 years, and we're going to get to that. But right now, I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to switch us into what we call spitlights. It's a version of spitballing, but because my show is called Spotlights with Dory, we call this spitlights. This is the little ways that I like to throw out there to get to know Joshua. Not the writer, the poet, the editor, the freelancer, the podcaster, the Joshua, the man. First question is peanut butter, creamy or chunky?
Neither. Actually, little known secret about me. I'm not. I like peanut butter with chocolate. I like nut butters. If I'm going to go with a nut butter kind of thing, I would say if I go nut butter, it's chunky. But peanut butter has not been my thing.
I thought you were going to say you didn't like peanut butter.
I'm not a big fan of peanut butter at all. Nut butters. Yeah. No, so you want to hear the story about this? Okay. So.
Yes, I do, because you just what do you mean you don't like peanut butter?
Big hug. Here, hold on. It's okay. Big hug. It's okay. It's okay. I don't judge anybody. Listen. It's just one of those. It's just one of those things When I was a kid, I'm gonna give you a super hilarious story here. Okay.
I want to hear this because you've just made the comedian lose her shit.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So I remember when I was, and this still impacts me even as an adult. When I was a kid, there were things I didn't like. Now, sometimes I had such a bad experience eating pizza. It took me 7 years to try it again. Like I had
traumatization with peanut butter.
It's the same thing. Just during that year, there's a lot of stuff I just didn't like. I didn't like peanut butter. I didn't like pizza. I didn't like onions.
Weigh in on this. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't like onions. I didn't like. It was just. It took me a long time to outgrow some of this stuff. Now, peanut butter. Here's the thing. I do like it more now, but I'm still not crazy about it. Like if it's like. I will take a nut butter, like a different nut, and I would rather do that than a peanut butter. So that's that.
I love almond butter.
Yeah,
almond butter is so good. And there's a hazelnut, and I know you're not the peanut butter. You know, you're like not a fan of peanut butter, but there's a hazelnut peanut butter that I was like addicted to for a while.
Okay, so it's okay.
Okay,
I broke you in 10 minutes.
You broke me a little bit there. But that is exactly why I do this. Okay, and these are new. You're my first guest this year because it's a new season.
Okay.
I break my show out into monthly seasons, and this is the second of this year. So you got the first question of this season. So
and I broke you. That's awesome.
You broke me with it.
You should clip this.
Okay. If you could pick one spirit animal or creature, what would it be and why?
Tough one. I would say.
Now, if your animal would be different than your creature, you can answer it that way too, because mine would be two totally different answers.
Let's be my inner mythology nerd. I've always been fascinated by phoenixes. I love phoenixes. But also
your answer.
Right. That's that. Right. So
that's a great answer.
Yeah. But as far as like real physical things that we know for sure exist. Listen, I'm one of those people that if someone told me I'm a dragon in disguise, I'd be like, okay, cool. I wouldn't care. I mean, I just would just roll with it. But the thing about it is, I'm a big cat person. I'm actually a big cat person. That I like the fact that cats pretty much do what they damn well please. I'm also just a touch jealous because their lifestyle is incredibly simple. They will sleep, they eat, they lick themselves, and then they go back to sleep again. It's like they have a very
domesticated house cat. Your spirit animal, is that what you're saying?
They're all. I can also I hunt and play and all that stuff. You're a cat life. A cat's life. You know what a cat's life is like? It's really simple. Am I hungry? Cool. I'm gonna go get something. If I'm full, I'm sleeping. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, and that's even in the wild too.
And you can't really own a cat, even if the cat's your pet.
They train you as much as you train them.
They can't really be owned. They own you. I don't care what cat owners are out there. If you think you own your cat, keep coming back, bud, because that is not the way it works.
So, fun story. The last cat I actually had, I've moved so much that I don't think it's fair for me to have an animal right now. But when I had a cat last time, like he would literally nibble on my toes at 7 o'clock in the morning to make sure I fed him. Like he would actually come into my room. So I don't like getting up early.
You need a cat like that in my life.
Yeah. Oh he was really good about that.
Nibble on my toes. I need my toes nibbled on.
No, he wakes up. He's like, what? That's like, and you get up, you just feed him, and no, I mean, that cat had a mischief streak a mile long, but no, I mean, he trained me well. What can I say?
So I'm gonna go back real quick, and I forgot I'm supposed to give you my answers. Creamy. I'll do that real quick. Creamy. Oh, unless I'm baking cookies. If I get into Dory Homebaker, Susie Homemaker mode, because I am a submissive domestic goddess, it is 100% chunky if I'm going to actually make cookies. And then, of course, the female lion is my spirit animal, 100%. I am that cat-like woman who would breastfeed other babies. Mm-hmm. And female lions are like, and leave from breastfeeding to go kill the meat we're going to eat for dinner. That would be me. that would still be me.
You sound like a workhorse. Yeah, I like that. You sound like a workhorse.
Now the creature thing is dragon, but I almost want to steal Phoenix from you. I almost want to steal Phoenix. So the next question is, what is your go-to treat at the movies you must have?
I'm very boring. Popcorn, butter. That's it.
No, high five. That's my answer. It's not boring at all. I will say that I kind of like popcorn with my butter.
Yes. That's fair enough. Fair enough.
But yes, that's my answer too. And then this next one is, what was your favorite toy as a child?
Oh, I was a huge pro wrestling fan, man. I used to have these WWE action figures when I was a kid, like the original ones that were actually like big and rubbery and good.
Who was your favorite wrestler?
When I was a kid, it was Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
When I was a kid, as an adult, if you've ever listened to my show, guys, I always talk about the Macho Man somehow, some way, because it's just.
Oh, I like him. He's good.
Yeah,
I'm a huge wrestling fan, but my wrestling days go back way back. Like my favorite was Junkyard Dog.
Junkyard Dog was cool.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, I remember. The thing is, the JYD, he was bigger outside of WWE than he was in it. In WWE, he was just a guy. But outside of it, he was, and when he was in Mid-South, man, that dude was the man.
And next to him would be Roddy Piper.
Good call.
Absolutely adored him. And Ric Flair. I wanted to catch a restraining order over those two. Roddy Piper or Ric Flair. I wanted to catch a restraining order.
No, you know what? I mean, both of them had that reputation. Yeah. I am of the belief when Ric Flair was wrestling well into his 60s, he had probably done the loop where he's, in some cases, he had the mom and the daughter, I'm sure, a few times. I'm just like, it's just one of those things, like, you've been around the block a long time, and everybody and again, he was called Space Mountain for a reason.
So do they have wrestling in Canada where you live?
Oh, absolutely. Wrestling is actually, so wrestling, especially depending on where you are, is bigger. Now, right now, because of the pandemic in Canada, it's a little weird. It's a little weird right now, but
there's a couple of local wrestling things here in San Diego that I've.
Yeah. I
want to go to it.
I lived in
but I want to go.
Yeah, so. I lived in Calgary, and when Calgary was in Calgary, it was really big there. As far as Windsor actually has a decent scene, but like I said, what it's most known for is, I don't know if you know the show called Impact Wrestling. Like they used to come film their stuff up here sometimes. Ooh. So it's one of those.
I was gonna ask you, have you ever got into MMA stuff and any of the, like, being a wrestling, like I kind of sort of did. So and I still never really got into any of the actual wrestlers. But have you ever heard of that show on Netflix called Kingdom?
I haven't heard of the show. I'm so TV uncool. It's not.
If you like wrestling, and yes, it is MMA. It's more MMA style.
MMA. I'm so when. No, MMA is MMA. I have much respect to anyone that does it. So honestly, like that, it's very much. So it's the real thing.
So, what's the one thing you cannot go a day without?
Sleep. No.
Do you get enough sleep, Joshua?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes. Won't tonight. Will tomorrow night, but won't tonight.
It's late there for him, by the way.
No, it's not late for me. I have to go to bed early tonight because I am doing a day job, at least for a temporarily little bit.
I mean late because it's already 9:20 there.
Yeah, it's not late for me. It's not. I'm going to be up probably till about 1 or 2, and then I'm going to get up at 6 in the morning to go do the day job. I'm not doing a stream tomorrow night, so I can kind of take tomorrow as a recovery day when I'm done working. But it's kind of like the plan.
That's kind of like me. I'd like to try to say that I could go to sleep by 11 or midnight or something, but that just doesn't.
No,
Did you answer this question?
What's one thing you can't go like? No, beyond that. Honestly, it's a hard answer for me because I've lived in many different lives, like just in terms of living situations and stuff like that. I've had everything taken away from me. Now,
Okay.
when I'm in a luxurious moment, I love coffee. I love books.
Mhm.
Right,
But what's the one thing? What's that one thing? If you
that's why I'm saying, like, I don't know if I'm the right guy to answer this, because I've lived so many different lives. I've been with a lot of things that
Okay.
people take for granted. I've
Yeah.
been without, and a lot of things that people. So I always joke.
I know, like, I just said this to someone yesterday, I think it was. They had posted something and there was this really kind of metaphysical or really intricate, long, drawn out, like, diatribe of, like, wanting opinions. And I answered it with, well, I got coffee and a clean water shower today, so I feel like I've been overpaid.
Sometimes it's like luxuries
It's
are
that simple.
Yeah, no, it sometimes is. If I had to choose, if I had to really pick one thing, okay,
Right.
I'll go with this. When I went through my really hard time in Arizona, the biggest thing, the biggest thing I have a luxury kind of thing, I love long hot water showers. It's because there was a time I didn't have that luxury. So that's my luxury I do for myself, give or take. Could I go without? I have. That's kind of why it's kind of weird for me to answer it. But if I really want to my best, hot water shower.
Okay, so we're going to switch from spitlights to some questions that I have that are standard that I ask everyone these. These are questions that came up during my show last year that they were originally part of someone's set, or well, they were originally written and customized for one particular guest, but I loved them so much I made them a part of my show. So the first one is, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrived at the pearly gates?
I love you and I'm proud of you.
Nice. Okay. And then here's the next one. What would you like to ask God?
It's weird. This is going to sound like I'm very dumb here, but it's not much really to ask.
I love that answer. No,
yeah, there's not much to ask. This is bigger than me, this life. And to understand how everything I went through in this life, I've had a lot of bad things happen to me. I've had a lot of good things happen to me. Right. I wouldn't be who I am without all the things I've been through. But I also just realized that, I'm still here. I'm still doing my I love. I can still do it with people I love. Kind of blessed, all things considered. So
nice. Okay, so now I want you to be honest. This next one might be a little tough for you to answer, okay, because of how sweet you are. But I know you can be savage. So if you could damn one person to hell, who would it be and why? You're gonna have we do have people watching. So for you guys watching, let me tell you, this man's gonna have to dig deep to find something negative or hate. He's not someone who has any of that, so it's probably gonna be hard.
It's not that So my grandmother remembers everybody that's wronged her. Everybody.
Is she Italian?
She's Maltese. Worse.
Oh, okay. That's right. Yeah.
That's how she.
Yeah. My grandma was a French Cajun.
Okay, same thing. Very similar. All right. So here's the thing. Here's what I've had to learn in this life, and it's maybe one of the harder lessons. You don't have to like somebody to get along. There are people I don't like. Right. There are people but even the people I feel that have wronged me the most, honest to God, I want them to be happy, because honestly, in one case, I want them to be successful because they could then finally pay back everybody they owe money to, including me. That sounds really petty, but I'm not going to name names there because that's not a can of worms I really want to do.
No, I can relate to that statement.
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
But in spite of that, I actually do wish them nothing but the best, because honestly, as someone as they were a hero of mine, and I still like them as a hero. There are just things about them personally I kind of wish had been better.
Yeah.
Looking back, and that really, I mean, that's the worst thing I can honestly say about pretty much anybody, Beyond that, like most of my wounds have been done by people I care about.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn an awful lot about forgiveness as a result of that.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting too, because when you get older and you go through some of your own experiences, you recognize that maybe like you understand those things a little bit more. You don't look at them the same way. So like I've learned from holding things on and letting them there. It's hard for me to let go initially, but once I let go, I let go.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was, as you were talking, I was looking at this question and thinking, and sitting here and going, for you and the people we have watching, I don't even believe in hell. So it's
I do. Oh no, I actually do believe there's a hell, but I think
if there is one, the hell that I would believe in is the one that Anne Rice depicts in her book called Memnoch the Devil. And I don't know if you've read that book.
I haven't read that one of hers, no.
The book, the premise of it, the general gist of it is that God and the devil are actually in a collusion partnership together, and that the only purpose of hell, according to what she talks about in that book, is to bring people to their knees to God. Mm-hmm. And hell in her book is more of a place of redemption. It's a place where the people that go there or that are sent there can still be redeemed. The people that's the hell that I would believe in. This hell that, for whatever reason, God or whoever felt you were bad enough to go there, you were bad enough to be damned there. But I loved how Anne Rice depicted that it wasn't the end of the road for your soul.
No.
And I love that. So if hell did exist, that I would rather like to believe her. So I'm going to move us on. So, because I want to make sure we have time at the end for stuff. And the last question is, what is the one most taboo thing that you would never use in your creative works, your writing or your poetry or whatever else you do?
Like, what do you mean by that?
The topic, the circumstance, the issue, the political thing. What is there something so taboo you're just not going to put it in your creative works?
I'm really not a fan of politics because I can't win. Mm-hmm. I don't like no-win scenario kind of stuff. I like making people think, but I look at actually, no, screw it. I really don't know if there's any like, okay, you're talking to a guy right now that's got a plot for like one of his books down the road, and how to create the virus to infect the entire human race. And this would be controversial. The easiest way to do it is to make it a vaccine, right? Because it would be like the one
unique storyline, by the way, Joshua. No offense.
It's not. But
that's not new.
No, it's not. But I mean, if you sit there and think about it, I can see it.
There's so many movie premises that have similar to what you just
said. Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
I would just look at the premise of how people react. It's not even so much that about the virus; it's about the people's reactions to it and why everybody's straight like that. It's a fascinating. That word is a very fascinating polarization. And I definitely say, if I'm not very ready to play with that, I'll be willing to play with like anything really. I don't know if I'm interested in everything. Say I'm not crazy about politics, but if the right story comes up, I would tell. So topically, I don't know what I could do. Writing is kind of hard. One of the things kind of that makes it awkward. I don't know if I would tell. It'd be harder for me to tell something from a perspective I'm not as familiar with, but I don't know. Like, honestly, I've never really thought about that question.
I know that it would also, for me, it would depend on what we're talking about, because I know I would absolutely write about sexual assault as deep story, or in some of my poetry, I'd probably put some of that in there somehow. But as a stand-up comedian, I'm never telling a rape joke. That's never happening. For me, that's unacceptable. That's a world. You'll never catch me utilizing that to get a laugh, because I don't think there's anything funny about it.
I think context is everything. like
Exactly.
like context is everything there. I mean, you can in the right context, you can talk about absolutely anything.
Right.
It's like would I deliberately? I think the hardest thing is, again, my dad grew up in like Detroit in like the '60s, and he was like he was a white guy literally in a black neighborhood. So I know all the good black like I know how they talked to each other back in that day, and honestly, again, you learn it because you were kind of like you kind of saw it a little bit, and it was just like one of those things where it's like, oh, if I could definitely go down some really interesting lines to cross if I ever really wanted to.
And
but
I
have to, and there'd be a validation to it because I've seen it, right? So,
well, and if it was, I have a stand-up joke that got me pulled. It got me pulled aside and talked to after a stand-up comedy show by a black guy. And I'm comfortable telling you about this, and anyone who's watching, I have no apologies for it. So this black man, who I had known for a while, going to the amateur comedy stores and stuff, he pulls me aside because one of my jokes is about black guys dating heavyset women. It alludes to how a heavyset woman should never have to feel alone. She just needs to find a brother. That's like the joke. Okay, it's a stereotype. The stereotypes are true for a reason. So this black guy comes to me, the Amazon beauty. For anyone watching, this is stand-up comedy, okay, that's my disclaimer. And he comes up to me and he pulls me aside and he goes, "You should not ever be talking. You're not a black person. You should never tell a black joke." No. Like, he's in my face with his finger and everything, right? And I let him rant, and then I paused and I said, "Listen, I grew up 45 minutes outside of New Orleans in one of the most, like, you want to talk about growing up with the other cultures, okay? I grew up with blacks. I grew up with Native Americans. I grew up with way more non-white people than white, okay? And I say to this man, I go, not only did I grow up 45 minutes outside of New Orleans, I've probably had, how did I say it? I've probably had more black men in me than you have black in you."
Ow. That is like, ow. That was savage.
It's pretty savage, right? And no apologies. No apologies to anyone listening. True statement. It wasn't even like I was telling him some bullshit just to make him.
No.
I was telling him a factual statement because he was a really light-skinned tone brother. Okay, I'm going to switch us away from this topic and take you to rapid fire words. These are unique to Joshua. These are words I came up with thinking in terms of interviewing Joshua and putting him on the spot and spotlighting him. So these are words that I'm going to throw up on the screen, and I want you to just pull from your improv, poetic, writer mind and just throw out there what they invoke from you. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. Romance.
Date. I like a date. I
want to know your idea of a perfect first date. What would you plan for your girl?
Actually, my best dates never have gone to plan at all. Like, it's like that's the best part. That's the best part of that. So, I remember. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to a really early date, and then we're going to talk about a more recent date. It's been a little while since I've been on a date, and I kind of missed them. But the first date I had, I remember we just showed up, and I just managed. She looked great, and like we ended it, and we just started, we clicked, we just really clicked, and one thing led to another. Like, there wasn't a plan here. There just wasn't a plan. It just went with it and rolled with it. I had a good time. So did you.
Out like a good boy.
Not that time. that actually, to be honest,
high five. You know me. Do you do you, boo?
Well, as far as like romantically, that stuff in the sack.
Okay.
First time usually I'm with a woman, I usually ask them what they like. it's kind of like one of those things, and I try different things all the time because every woman's a little different on how to turn them on, and everything is about. And I find with women, especially, there's a fantasy element that you kind of have to hit with them. You got to figure out what that is, and every woman, it's a little bit different. And once you find it, oh man, the fun you have.
The sweet spot.
Well, it's a combination. It's not just about the physical stimulation. It's the
no, fuck no.
No.
All foreplay exists between the ears.
Yeah, absolutely. No. And the thing is, and honestly, my experience with women is the better the foreplay, the better the sex. That's the way it is.
100%.
Not every girl feels that way. There's been a couple of it's just like, can we just go? It's like, okay, I guess I'm bored.
That's why.
But for the most part, that's how it works.
I can't even take credit for that. All foreplay exists between the ears. That's a that I think I either got that from Osho or my tantrika. I don't remember who said it. All I know is that foreplay starts when you wake up in the morning. If you're with a woman, if she's your partner, you have a wife or you have a girlfriend. Foreplay starts in like the moment you wake up. Because if you're not on romanticizing her throughout the course of the day before you expect her to be naked, you have just tried to force your way in. You know, you've tried to use a cross, or what is that? What are those? A crowbar?
Yeah.
You've just, like, no. The keys to the kingdom are a lot simpler, to be honest. Okay, I don't want to. I want to. Ready?
Yeah.
Next one is fun.
Oh, that can be okay. That can be anything that like that. It could be that, but it also could be like for me, when I write and when I'm creating stuff, it's always a bit of a joy of discovery. My favorite kind of fun is always going down to different places I've never really been to before. There's a natural explorer. So I love that's why travel is so fascinating to me. That's why I like that looking for that going into something unknown, different, exciting. Always is fun for me. And also, but when I'm like, let's say I'm doing something like an author presentation, playing with the audience is always a fun.
You probably can guess why I put this on your rapid fire list, because Joshua quote, this is a Joshua quote, when all else fails,
have fun.
I'll like, spells have fun. I love that quote.
Well, because when it comes right down to why are you here, right? Because why are you here? I remember my very first book signing. I promoted everything wrong. I did everything. I did it. It was terrible. I was like literally the worst thing I've ever done. But I learned a very valuable lesson that day. So the store I was going to sign, it was in an aromatherapy place in like a very hidden part in Calgary of all things in Kensington. And I remember it's like, there's no way to get people to there's no signs or anything to get people to come to the store. So I had this wonderful idea to print arrows on the sidewalk. And I taped the arrows going in spaces because people followed those arrows all day long because I made it fun. I learned a very valuable marketing lesson.
Humans, no offense, but humans are like sheep, and that's a very easy, effective way to get them to do something you want them to do.
Well, it's not even about being. It's just I'm not selling you something. If I try to sell you something, you're gonna be like, "Fuck you!" Like literally, "Fuck you." But if I say, "You want to play?" What do you want to play?
Okay.
Right? Because again,
what movie is that from? War Games. Remember in War Games? Want to play a game?
Yeah.
Remember on the computer? What?
No, I'm not cool. I'm telling you straight
card. I'm
telling you straight up. I'm not cool.
This gift card is officially revoked. You don't know War Games. Okay. All right. Here. This is your next word. It's a phrase. Being authentic. What does that mean to Joshua?
It means I don't have to work hard at being anything but myself. That's what that actually means. Lying is work. Lying is a lot of work. Disbelief is a lot of work. Right. Cynicism is a lot of work. I don't know why people always go to those things. So I just figure if I'm just me, I don't really have to worry about it. I can be foolish. Sometimes I'm foolish, but I'm myself, and I find out it gets me by more often than not.
Cynicism is a lot of work. I like that. Okay, and then the next one is tundra.
Oh, jeez, that's Calgary, Alberta, -4 degrees.
Yeah, I couldn't interview a Canadian guy, get guy in Canada, and not
So
use.
my day job in Calgary last time I lived there was very menial, but some days I would literally be working in the weather, even though I was in a trailer. Oh no, this is it, right? So you work in the weather, you take some warmers, put some warmers on in your hands and your feet, and you'd go into these trailers, and sometimes the trailers are colder than outside, and I didn't mind the trailers because again, you work by yourself and it's just you. But when you get right down to it, with the tundra, it's like there were days, man, that you would walk, you have to go outside in that, and you just would see this white, and it's cold, and you're like, what the hell? Why am I here? What possesses me to come here in this weather at this time? And I don't have a good answer sometimes. Sometimes I don't anyway.
So the last word, the Joshua inspired word, is savage.
Oh yeah, thinking there's one, but I always say I'm a bit of a savage. I'm just me. Like I'm civil, I'm nice and all that stuff, but I can also I know how to be ruthless if I absolutely have to be, and it's a necessity. I think the one thing I like, yeah, I'm a nice guy, and people will sometimes say, oh, he'll nice, he'll take some. No, not always, and I'll let you know in those uncertain terms if that line is crossed. But and again, that's
what's the one? What would you say is the most surefire way to bring out your savage?
Waste my time and lie to me. Don't need to do it. I can pretty much. If you're going to want something from me, you're asking me for my time and my place and my energy. It's like, cool. I'm all ears. And if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. That's my assumption. Now, shit happens, and I forgive that. Shit does happen. Exactly. But there's also a lot of times where people are like, I don't feel like doing this, and that's all good. But let me know beforehand you don't want to do this. Don't waste my time. Like, do I have the day of? That pisses me off. People, and what tends to hurt me the most, I find with people, is when people try, sometimes you have to have uncomfortable conversations with your friends. Sometimes.
Oh, of course.
Right. But a lot of people don't want to be the bad guy, so they defer from those unnecessary conversations. And I have found in my own experiences, maybe it's my own flaws as a character, I don't know, my own flawed character, that hurts me more than actually just having the bad conversation.
Yeah.
That just does.
Hey, if they're your friends, they'll be able to have that conversation and it'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have found that the ones who can't have a legit, mature discussion and the friendship goes, or is it affected by, and trust me, I'm guilty of it. I am guilty of blocking people and unfriending people and being irrational. And I usually come around and try to make it better or try to do whatever. But okay, so now I am going to add a video to the stream, and I'm going to take myself out. Wait, how did I? Oh, there we go. Okay. I thought I was going to take myself out. I don't know how to do this. There's a way.
We're live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live.
Here we go. See, I knew there was a way to do this. I just want you in there. I don't need to be in here. This is about you. So tell everyone about Alice Zero, what it is and what's about to come.
So about 3 years ago, Colleen Anderson came up to me and went to me, I'd love you to do an epic poem with Lewis Carroll stuff. It was for an anthology. And she goes, she really liked what I did with this book series I did for Merrill Publishing called The Watcher, Storm Dancer, and The Wandering God. She wanted something like that, but she wanted a Lewis Carroll story. It's like, okay. So I thought about that, and I was like, well, what can I say about Lewis Carroll that hasn't already been said? And then that night, I met a girl at a bar with a Gorgon tattoo. And the idea of introducing Medusa into this story actually felt right for some reason. And then I had this eureka moment. Alice is Pandora. And it works so well, it's scary. So the whole thing is I took Alice in Wonderland and I took Greek mythology and I mashed it together. Alice Zero, the first book, is basically the piece I submitted for the anthology, and and as a result, I was off on the right. I mean, I never imagined Greek mythology and Alice in Wonderland together that way before, and this year it's nominated for an Elgin Award from the Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association. So it's kind of a cool thing. I didn't expect that. I got to thank Colleen again for kind of playing a role and getting me that opportunity. And so Colleen Anderson, thank you very, very much. But it made me go, I got to do a sequel now. And so the sequel.
What is that?
She's like, okay.
I know. For those of you watching, did you see my excitement go up in my voice? Yes, yes, yes. Tell me about a sequel.
So Alice in the first book opened the box, got a certain Cheshire friend inside her head, and together they escaped an insane asylum where the playing cards were her jailers. Hence the cover you see here.
Give up too much. No spoilers.
That's all good. It's all good because that's not really what the story of her escape is. More about who she realized who she is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that way.
Okay. Yeah. No.
But we were talking about the sequel now, so I gotta give that part. So Alice, Alice is chasing the queen, and the chase ends up into the underworld, the Hades underworld, where Alice is going to play Jason a game of croquet because it's Alice in Wonderland, and of course they're going to have croquet. And they're playing a game, and it's been interesting to write it, and because I've taken what's in zero and I've expanded it. The ones at right now, it's still not quite done. It's mostly done. I got 2 big scenes left, and it's actually written, at least the first bit of it. And the amazing thing about this one is I really had some fun. Jason's a great villain for Alice. Actually, I really enjoyed putting those two together, and some of the other things.
On the release of the sequel?
November 1st is the planned release date for the sequel. That is the planned release date for the sequel.
I just clapped.
I know. I heard.
If I was comfy on my bed, I would do a happy dance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on a second here.
Because I have more on this reel. I mean, this is not the this is not everything that encompasses or how do you say that word? Encompasses, Joshua?
Encompasses.
The
word of the day.
That's kind of what I'm gonna get at. Where's my play? That's kind of basically the point, is because the next thing I have in this reel is an image. If it gets there, here we go. Okay.
Wow, you went to my website. You went to my website.
I do my homework. So for those of you who are watching, this was a picture from one of Joshua's blogs. One of his articles. Would you call it a blog or article? I know it's a blog.
This one's a blog. This one's a blog for sure.
Yeah, and it's called Price Point Matters. So tell us about this particular one, as well as the other writing, editorial blogs and things that you do, because I know you do quite a bit.
This has evolved like I've evolved. There are interviews on this blog pre-podcast. They go back far enough. There's a lot of written interviews there. But what I've been doing for the last year and a bit, I've been pursuing the freelance life, because ever since the pandemic, it's like, why not? Last year was about figuring out what I'm doing, and this particular piece is one of the earliest lessons. It is basically the whole thing about negotiating your rate. One of the earliest pieces of advice I got from a friend of mine that lives currently in Vegas is you have to charge. And I learned why a little bit down the road. I had a client that wanted me to promote a Kickstarter for them. And we come to, I thought was a relatively reasonable rate. And I just recognized, but again, there's just certain red flags started to happen. You can read the blogs if you want to read about all the red flags. But ultimately, I thought about what I could do, what could have done differently. And there are some other things I don't mention in the blog. But I think the biggest one I talk about is that price point. We live in a world. We live in a world where the more someone pays for something, the more they respect it. It's just the way it is. And it's
Right.
true. I mean, if you look at anything you buy, if you say $3 for something versus $30 for something, you're going to respect that $30 thing more likely a lot more than the $3 thing. It's just human nature. It's
Right.
true. It's just true. It's true with companies as well. So as a freelancer, the biggest challenge you have is you want to charge high enough that people will respect you, but low enough that people will still hire you. There's a balancing act that you got to do work on. And like I said, for me right now, like as an example, I write for 20 cents a word on average. Like sometimes it's a little lower, sometimes it's a little higher, but like my going rate is about 20 cents a word, which is not the most expensive, but it's not cheap either. So if you want me to work for you, you're going to be paying me something to work for you. So
well, and you're talking about 20 cents a word of original words, original text, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So if you want me to do it, so 1,200 word article like goes for about $250, $300. That's not a big jump of money, but but again, you do enough of those, and as I keep getting more and more articles up there, my price will go up. And it's true with every freelancer, no matter what.
Here's why I was pointing out the original work, the fact that what you're writing is original, and why I was pointing that out is my first, I've worked in healthcare for 32 years, and one of my first roles in the healthcare world was transcription, and that's exactly how we would do our billing was either a per word or a character count per document, and it was real low back in the day. But a modern day transcriptionist now in 2021 is getting much more than what you just quoted me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And those are people transcribing what someone else said.
Mm-hmm.
So what you just quoted me is so fair, in my opinion. As a creator myself, as someone who doesn't like doing anything for anybody else, I like.
Well,
I don't even like doing commissioned art. Okay. Like the only commissioned art I can see me doing is if they said, Dory, I want you to just create whatever you want to create. And then I'd be like, all right. Like that would work for me. So my point is, I know I interrupted your flow, but to me, what you just quoted me is super fucking fair price, really.
Oh yeah, by and large. But like I said, it's got to be worth my time, or I'm not going to do it. That's just the way it is.
I've got one more on this reel. And this is, of course, we're going to talk about this. Of course, is Just Joshing podcast or Just Joshing all of what Josh is or who Josh is? Absolutely not, which we've already covered. But I did save this for last on purpose because this is how I met him. And I didn't want everything about this show to be about this. So tell me about your podcast, though, because I know there's a lot of love.
Oh, yeah. I've done.
I saved the best for last is what I'm saying.
It's definitely what I'm most known for sure. So the podcast, much again, everything else in my life started by accident. If you go back early enough in my blog, like I said a bit earlier, I've done written interviews. I'm actually a big fan of like the Rolling Stone style of interview. I really do miss it. Yes. I still do the odd one here and there, but it's very rare. But
you should do those just cause and submit.
Well, no, they're great. It's just time. Like more than anything else, it's just the time to do it, right? So, so what happens is, I get a wonderful device called a cell phone, like this, ladies and gentlemen, in 2015. It took me that long. I'm old and I'm cranky and I've changed slow and all that bullshit. Anyways, I got the opportunity to interview Robert J. Sawyer. And Rob, it was a good interview. If you listen to that interview today, it's episode 20. Well, I mean, that was one of my early ones. I was probably one of the interviews you can actually hear me being intimidated. I lost that as time has gone on, but that one you can hear it. We do a good interview though, and he comes out. We come out of the conference room, and I forget who asked him. I want to say Arlene Marks, but I could be wrong on this one. So someone asked him, "Well, Rob, what'd you do?" "Oh, I just got interviewed Josh with a podcast." I didn't have a podcast at that moment in time, but just something clicked. And it's like, I can do a podcast. And honestly, it's been an incredible ride ever since.
You interviewed him and it wasn't a podcast, but
initially it was not the plan. The plan was, again, if you go back into my blogs, I did written interviews. I don't transcribe them and just keep the written interview thing going because I enjoyed those. But he mentions podcasts out of the blue, and I'm like,
isn't that amazing? That's kind of like the day that I was just sitting in chat watching Pops promote Mike Jimmy when Life of Korra was doing its thing, and I was sharing about how watching Mike draw or sketch live one day was what inspired me to illustrate my children's books or to get my children's books out. Well, then Pop says, well, you should illustrate your poetry.
Yeah. There you go. Dun, 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 right?
I'm like freaking 2 books into this later and shit. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I love that story. I mean, okay, I love the story of your podcast anyway. I love how many, tell me again, how many have you had now? How many podcasts?
So the 616th episode goes up Wednesday. So as far as purely just audio episodes, there are 450. You can find them on my YouTube channel.
Okay. Yeah. 600 and what?
615. The 599th episode is currently an audio. Just I released the audio of that last night. That's been kind of cool to watch people.
Okay, so let me say this while I've got you here, and the people we have like a couple of people watching. I've been doing a version. Well, last year my show was called On the Spot. This year it's called Spotlights. I've done. Josh was my 11th guest. Okay, 11 people, and that's why I made him repeat 615 because if anyone out there doesn't understand what goes into putting something like this together, and whether it's the work you do ahead of a time you're with one of your guests or the time after you're one of your guests, because I know you put everything on the audio podcast, you're gonna put it there, then you make sure that your videos are on your YouTube. And stuff like that. So there's a lot of production work to this.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where it's just very unconsciously competent. Like this, like the podcast is an education. You listen to my early episodes, especially. Some of them make me cringe. Like, bad. They are bad. But
I bet.
I mean, production-wise, they are bad. I'm always proud. I always enjoy the content. Like, I have been very fortunate with the guests I've had. I've had some great, like Rob Sawyer is a big name, but so is like Spider Robinson, Kelly Armstrong. I've had Mark Park, Elsa Garza, Stephanie Phillips is my most recent one. She like on the audio, and she wrote Harley Quinn, writes Harley Quinn for DC Comics right now. So I mean, I've had people like that. I've had people that are just getting started. The show, the idea behind the show, the philosophy of the show is everybody's got a story.
Yeah.
And one of my more subconscious messages, I think, in the show is, if you look at the variety of guests I've had, because it was just a writer's show and it's evolved into like an artist show. Like I have different arts all the time. Was it originally intended to just be for writers, or? Yeah. It's just like anything else. The show evolves. Like what happens is, yes, there you go. Alazira, ladies and gentlemen. Right
the reason I want to hold on a second. I know I'm interrupting what you were saying, but the reason let me put this a little closer. Okay. So for everyone watching, I have to show you this because my laptop is this huge big screen, and it's perfect for reading digitally, but I fucking hate digital. I was the purest hardback biased woman. Like if it wasn't on paper, if it wasn't a hardback, I did not want it. I would wait until I could afford the hardback. I would wait until I
and eventually I am going to do a print version of Alice, but we'll get to that later. So the finish, so what happens is you get started. I mean, I dabbled with it right away. Like I had my first musician on my show, like episode 10, and but it's just evolved. Like what happens is you get to a point where you do these episodes and you get to a certain point and you recognize kind of what works for you. Like I don't mind, like if you hear me talking to writers, we do talk craft. It's not really a writing show. It's a show where people just shoot the shit. And
they're just watching.
Right? So it's one of those things, like we'll talk about serious stuff, like the vaccine stuff right now. We talked about COVID. Like I a lot of COVID therapy in the last year. I sincerely hope I never have to do that much COVID therapy ever again. Just saying. But I mean, we've also talked about silly stuff like Flitter and like Star Wars. Like I've talked Star Wars on the show plenty of times. I've talked about Macho Man Randy Savage plenty of times, right? I did a drink and draw with Joe Compton on the other day. We're talking about drawing things like potatoes, for crying out loud. Lord knows we are not a serious show, and I'm not like I'm a show where someone can come in and be themselves, whatever that looks like for the person.
So we're at the point in the show we're actually running behind, but that's okay because I if I know anything, I know that Josh is okay if we go over the hour.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I certainly did when you had me on your show. So for those of you that are watching, if you didn't already figure this out, we've had a few people watching. You're more than welcome to throw up any comments. We still have about 10-15 minutes left because I'm not going to let him go until he absolutely tells me he has to. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to take him hostage. But as far as I know, I mean, I have gone through the spitlights and the trio words and the rapid fire, and we've gone through the stuff I had in your intro video. But now we talked real brief. I sprung this on Josh right before. I invited Joshua to perform or to share one of his pieces with us, and you have something you're ready to share with everyone.
I can. So I'm gonna do one thing though really quick because I kind of want to do something kind of cool here before we start.
This is the point.
We're going to give you a fun little exclusive.
Because I'm talking to you in solo layout. Because I'm turning the mic. I'm here. I'll be in. You'll still be able to hear me.
Yeah. So I haven't. I haven't actually shown people this yet.
Ooh. Okay. So, this is your part. You do your thing. I'm
gonna do something here called sharing the screen.
Excellent.
And I'm looking at window.
Oh yes, I'm so excited.
One tab, entire screen.
I like being shown something nobody else has seen.
No, I'm trying to see how to do this.
You should be able to. I'm pretty sure.
No, I know. StreamYard's got a little bit of a different so can you see it? No, not yet.
Yep. Right. As my guests can play, they can play sound.
There we go. So this.
Oh, I have to put it in the stream though.
So okay.
All right.
So this is the cover to Alice 1.
Can you hit the full screen on that?
There you go.
Oh, it made it smaller.
Hold on here.
I think we can put it in full screen layout.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh my God, that is fucking fantabulous. Now, who's the illustrators? You said
her name is Kenzie Carr. Her name is Kenzie Carr.
Okay.
I'm breaking her brain. I broke her brain doing this cover.
Because she's the one you said she's the same illustrator for the first book, correct?
Yeah, she is. She's doing an amazing. I'm gonna show so everybody can see this. This is the cover to Alice 1. For no fancy logos or lettering or stuff like that. This is it. Alice, and that's Jason. And if you've seen if you've read Zero, you know who's beside Jason. And if you have read Alice, you can see there's a certain Cheshire friend right there. So, that all said, so that we're going to do that. We're going to stop sharing that bad boy because that is.
You're like, that's all you get to see. Okay. So for those of you guys watching, the ticker down at the bottom does tell you how to find Josh. It tells you how to find his website, which gives you all the links to his books that he has. Alice 1 are not his only books. He has a few others. You can find those on his Amazon author page. And then, of course, the blogs he has and everything, almost everything you can find at the J Pantalleresco WordPress.com. Sorry. I almost said world. Okay, so You're officially out of the spotlight. And basically, the interview's done. Now, however, I give all of my guests the opportunity and the honor of turning the tables and turning that spotlight, and they're given license to ask me one question. And I just say I can't be blackmailed. I'm a
No.
And I'm probably not going to filter it. And it's the opportunity to put me in a. Last week I fucking cried. Okay, so
I don't.
try to be nice.
I think this is what I'm going to ask you, because you've done 11 of these episodes. Now I know I'm not the only show you watch, but you do watch me quite a bit. So I'm going to ask this: since you've been a host now for a little bit, do you like it? What have you learned from it so far, and how does it apply to what you're doing now a lot more?
Well, a lot of people ask me that question, to be honest. I kind of wish it was a more unique question.
Do you want me to ask you a more unique question? Because I can do that. Because
I mean, honestly, it's funny because I used to at least 3 times last month I would answer that before I would let them ask me a question, because it's the thing that everyone seemed to want to ask. And I'm like, why does everybody want to know why I do this show?
No, it's not. I'm not necessarily interested in why you're doing the show. What I'm interested in is what you've learned doing this show. Because here's the thing. One of the biggest lessons I've learned doing my show is I can look at people now. I can look at people that are doing these amazing things. And for me, I can look at what they have. I can look at people regardless of belief, structure.
Oh, yeah.
But I can see where we're all the same. If there's one thing the show has taught me doing, is that we are more alike than we're different. That's the biggest thing I've learned from this. It has made me a lot kinder to people doing this show than anything else I've ever done in my life. But for you, you've done 10 of these. You're kind of getting your feet wet still.
Yeah.
Oh
no, I know that. What do I love about it was what you started.
What do you love and what do you learn? And what have you learned?
What do I love and what have I learned? So what I love about this is that every time it's unique. Every interview has been unique. Every hour I have spent with whomever it has been unique and has influenced me in it. And every single time it has succeeded in providing exactly why I started this show in the first place, which was a way to fuel the creative juices of my own as well as the other people in my life, whoever these are for, whether it's, whoever I'm spotlighting. The whole point is to turn the spotlight on someone else, because I'll be the first person to admit I saturate the world with my creations, between my comedy and my poetry and my art and my blah, and my blah, 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 blah. Like, I fucking am sick of me sometimes. Sick of me. And this show gives me the opportunity to not have it be about me. It's not about me. This is about fueling the creative fires of creators in this world, because this fucked up world is dark enough. We don't need any more darkness. So what have I learned from this? Sadly, Joshua, what I've learned from this is that not everybody feels that way. I've had people ask me for money to be on the show. I've had people offended by being asked to be on this show. I've had people give me all kinds of answers. I've had people flat out ignore the invitation to come on the show.
I get that. I still get that.
What have I learned? What have I learned by doing this whole experience? I'm not going to fucking stop doing it, because for every person who acts like that, for every person out there who thinks they are so famous to be bothered, there's about 5 or 10 or 15 of us who are humble, legitimately humble, who need this or need people like us who are willing to continue to do this, to spotlight each other, to support each other, to high five each other, to be positive with each other. Because in my opinion, if you're not Stephen fucking King, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've written. I'm the author, the writer who just interviewed Joshua. If you were any other guest, I probably wouldn't say this. But if you're not Stephen King, shush up with your ego, motherfucker. I don't know who you are, but if you're not Stephen King, fuck you and your ego. I'm sorry, Joshua.
I
just showed up to your interview. I'm sorry.
No. Right? You asked me to turn the tables on you, and so I kind of wanted to hear what your answer was. And so
I answered your question.
No. I wanted to hear it, and that's why I asked. That's why I was like, okay. So here's the thing.
He's gonna ask more than one, you guys.
No, I'm not gonna actually ask more than one. I'm gonna close this with a very fun story.
Okay.
So these are fake. I've mentioned this before. So
mine.
Right.
You're not alone. We've talked about this.
Oh no, absolutely. No, these are fake. When I was going through the year when I was on my way to make the decision to fix it, I was dealing with a lot of emotions, and I came up with this really wonderful thought about human nature in general. And I came to this conclusion is that people do exactly what they want whenever they want, no matter what. And so I no longer, as a result, someone the other day just told me that they can't do my show because they don't have time. Fair enough. Maybe that's totally a possibility. I doubt it because I again, human nature, you do what you want. I tried to interview this guest and they were very uncomfortable on the show. And the second time I tried to reschedule them, they tried to cut the interview down. And so so when I rescheduled it the third time, my gut told me that I wasn't going to get to do this interview.
Yeah.
And so now this is where I can be if I really want to be an asshole, I can play this card, and this is what I've done. I've done this to some people.
Right.
And they'll be like, well, I'm not going to do this. Okay, do what you want. And they'll look at me and say, what do you mean by that? It's like, well, you're doing what you want. And there's no, and again, when I realized that there's no hard feelings. And I found that when I go like that, do whatever you want. It's all good. They look at me and they get like this really weird, like, what do you mean by that? And then I say, human beings, no matter what the situation, do exactly what they want to do. No more, no less. And then
you stop doing what I call the chase. What you're talking about is you're describing that realization that someone gets when you've just pointed out to them that you're not going to do the chase with them. Because there's some people who they have to be chased. They have to feel chased. They have to be desired or whatever. And when you just kind of go,
do what you want.
There's just some people, they don't know what the fuck to do with that. They're like, what do you mean?
Well, so like this is the thing, right? I've learned this with people is I don't have time. I don't have time right now, maybe, but I don't have time is not an excuse. I when I hear that, I know it's an excuse. You make time for what matters to you. You make time. You make time for what you feel is important. We all do, and no matter what, we do what we want to do. It's just that's human nature, and that will always be the case. So so at that point, I just go, okay, I'm good. And honestly, thank you for the no.
Doing it anyway, though, right? Like you're gonna keep doing your show anyway.
Yeah,
but you're not going to let that experience stop you, because I've had a few people whose reaction or response to being asked was so sweet, so legit, so transparently honest back with whatever reason they gave me was legit. They couldn't for whatever reason, and it was okay. High five. I understand that, like 100%.
Oh, yeah.
It goes back to what we've talked about in other shows that you've come on with me, the transparency thing.
Yeah.
Just be transparent.
Well, heck, even say I don't want to do it. I respect that.
Exactly.
I'll totally
I don't want to be on your show.
Yeah, it's I totally respect that. Like I remember my favorite guests I never got. I would love to get them on at some point.
Yeah.
I tried to interview them once, and no matter what, we just got interrupted.
Right.
The second time I went to go try to interview them, we tried it again at that point. She just thought about it for a minute and goes, you know what? I honestly really don't want to. And it was just a very honest.
I can respect that in so many ways, and I'm gonna shift totally maybe not really totally in a different gear, but as you know, I watch a lot of live streams. Okay, I'm a little bit of a live stream junkie.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. No apologies either, because I am also this eccentric loner, isolated person who lives all the way in fuck up in Ramona, and there's not much here. I see my kids and my roommates. That's it. Like, that's my interaction with people in real life. And I now am commuting back at my day job. So live feeds, live streams, that's my thing, man. It's my jam. And I get in there in chats, and I'm conversing with people in the chat, and I'm following the shows. And the other thing I'll say about my show, like this show, for a fucking fact, is I don't care who you are out there. If you're a creator and you want an hour with me, it may be, I book my stuff up months in advance. I'm booked right now all the way through the end of September.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I only do these on Sundays at 6 because of timing, because my life, I could never do this every day. I don't have the kind of,
I said that once upon a time.
I don't have the time. Okay. So yeah. So someone may have to take a Sunday in December or January. However, I don't care who is listening to me right now, unless you're Brad fucking Pitt. Trust me. If you tell me you can't be on my show because you want money to be on my show or any of that stuff, I'm just going to look at you and go, you're not Stephen King. You're not Brad Pitt. You're probably not Angelina Jolie. So I'm pretty sure you're not so fucking famous that my little dinky show is something you can't do. Okay, yeah. So if you want to say no to me, go right ahead and say no to me. However, I do also know this. The people who I have coming on my show, every single guest that has been on my show, all of the ones lined up are incredibly high caliber people. Every single person I have interviewed, and yourself included, Joshua, the only reason you're not famous at Stephen King, Brad Pitt levels is because not enough people know who you are.
Right.
Hands down, every person I have had on spotlights, every single one is 100% equal lateral caliber to the Stephen King metaphor.
Well, you're 5 people away from Stephen King. I am literally 2 people. I know at least a couple of people that know him. So who knows? Maybe someday I get that opportunity. On my dream list of people to interview, he's up there. I would love to have an hour of his time, but.
Well, to me, that's kind of the point, is that to me, I might as well have interviewed Stephen, even though, trust me, Stephen is probably the one person on the world, on the planet. Him, Leonard Nimoy, Jerry Lewis, and Stephen King. Maybe Robert Downey Jr. Maybe those guys would actually make me starstruck, like lose my fucking shit starstruck.
I don't know if I could be perfect anymore, but
no, I mean, I say that it's a good point. I say that I would, but then I don't know if I would. So, I've worked with humans for so long, and I've worked with doctors for so long. Doctors to me all of those letters behind their name don't mean much.
No,
they don't mean much.
So I had the opportunity to interview Kelly Armstrong, and then I think we'll probably have to wrap up because we've gone quite a bit over the hour at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say we need to wrap this up.
Yeah, I'll end with this fun little story. I had the opportunity to interview Kelly Armstrong.
Okay.
And all I did really to get her on my show was she was autographing books in Vancouver. I was there for a convention, and I asked her just really nicely. It's like, would you be willing once the show's all done? After the conference is done, would you mind if I had an hour of your time for an interview?
Yeah.
So do you know what you ended up talking about? Borderlands. What? She plays Borderlands.
Oh.
She shoots people up in video games. Like, she's a gamer mom, and it was a great. People are human beings at the end of the day, and that's just what it comes down to. And you just gotta be like, again, just You'll find people come to you when you're ready. We all got bad guests. I'll tell you my Star Trek alumni another day because we got to wrap that boy up. So
yeah, so I'm going to remove you and put you back in the green room. You're more than welcome to just sign out and leave. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's coming up for the next month in terms of spotlights. You're more than welcome to stick around, stay in the green room until I go offline. I am going to replay your video at the end. So but I'm going to do that after I talk about the spotlights. So just hold back, and like I said, I will not be offended if your little thing goes away and you decided to sign out. Okay, so I am super, super excited for the month that's coming. And let me see if I can make sure to do this right. I'm going to share for this kickoff of August. I'm actually going to share the screen, add to stream. Okay. This is kind of hard to see. I thought it would be. Let me see if I can zoom in. Zoom in, you guys. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Spotlights with Dory of Doris Jones Labors of Love. I'm on Sundays at 6, and my lineup for August is simple. It is all delicious divos. They are men. They are gorgeous. And I'm not just talking about the physical sense. We're talking about the soul, the spirit. These are men who I've come across in my life. Everyone on this list, Joshua, Eric, who is Bloodstone, the street preacher, Sean, Devin, who is Diastro, Jeff Friedman, who is of the Yucks. All of these gentlemen I've met this year, and they're in widely, drastically variations of talents. Bloodstone, the street preacher, is a rap artist. Sean is an incredible artist, and Devin is a comedian and an actor, and he's also a musician. He's a rapper. Jeff Friedman. These men, all of these men, are very similar in the sense that the amount of talent that is coming up. Right, Lisa? Yay the Yucks. Lisa says, "Yay the Yucks." So this is what we have to look forward to for this month. And for anyone else who is out there, I am going to remove this real quick. In the month of September, for the 4 Sundays in September, Miss Lisa Monday Gomez, whose name is actually on the screen, who said, "Yay, the Yucks." She is actually my co-host for the month of September, because all of September, those 4 it's called... the theme for our September is called Play Me a Song, and everyone is in September is a musician. So please join me next Sunday. Next Sunday is going to be Eric Fortress Lamont, aka Bloodstone, the street preacher. If you have not looked at his YouTube yet, or found his YouTube yet, or found his Facebook yet, or found his music, I am sorry, because it means that you have been missing out, because his music is incredible, and he is an incredible man, and I cannot wait to have him to myself for an hour. So with that, I am going to, let's see, what does she say? Woo, I'm so excited. I am too. So with that, I am going to play the video about Joshua one last time, and then hit end broadcast, and I will see you back here next Sunday at 6. Mwah!
Hey, Dory, this is Josh. Man, you and I appreciate you post an audio version. I've been doing these pretty much this last week to very interesting results. It's my turn. I just want to thank you for being so supportive of the podcast. I'm glad you've been involved in this, and I hope my show has been entertaining, enlightening, good, whatever. But more importantly, it seems like you are doing your thing, and you have the courage to be yourself in a very, very interesting time. I admire how passionate you are. I admire how authentic you are. You seem like a very cool person, and definitely at some point we'll have to get to know each other a little bit better, whether as an author or as an interview on my show or just even as friends. You seem really, 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 really cool. So, all that to say,